I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music. Today, guys, before you do anything, I mentioned in the last episode, going to mention for the next couple, if you have not yet gone to the new Velocities in Music home website at www.velocitiesinmusic.com, please do so. And tell us what you guys think. We just kind of relaunched a website using a new CMS and redesigned it, and we're hoping that is an improvement. And if you guys have been to the previous site and now can see this one and give us some feedback, we'd greatly appreciate it, so please do so. Today we're going to review the fourth album from a British prog pop band called Field Music. This album's called Plumb, which, what the hell that means, I have no idea. Is it like some Mario reference? Do they just have some sort of crazy plumbing hobby? I don't know, but it's called Plumb. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyways, this band have one of the most original sounds in music right now. And when they're aptly described prog pop, that description, I mean, if you really think about what that sound, you have a lot of kind of progressive instrumentation, stuff that harkens back to Yes, even, but you know, Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah,
I get a lot of
signature changes, lots of weird key changes,
you know, but
and odd compositional structures.
And I think that Field Music are just the champions of citing their references without sounding too much like them. You know, we mentioned it when we reviewed Measure a couple years ago, their third album, that you know, there's a lot of Paul McCartney there, you know, but it's all of the Beatles. You can hear that influence, you know, and as I mentioned, you know, Blue Oyster Cult and that prog sound, and even Talking Heads. You know, so a wide variety of different years and decades and eras and styles of music that just all get thrown into this just melting pot of Field Music's sound, and it's very British, and and that's something that, you know, if you like British rock, I mean, you have to appreciate this, and you being, you know, Blur's your favorite band, so you have to like this, you know.
Yeah, definitely, and especially with the vocals. I mean, they are pop, but it's got a lot of the time these kind of like high falsetto, almost Bee Gees-esque kind of sounds to it, and it is very endearing. It is very poppy, but just it's somehow you can't help but love it. But this album really is, it's strange because when you compare it to Field Music Measure, that was their previous album that we've reviewed, that album was just so monstrously long. I think they kind of planned it almost as a double album that wasn't quite a double album, kind of like Flaming Lips Embryonic, actually, in a similar fashion. It's kind of got two halves to it, but it just kind of flows all the way through also, and at first it just kind of washes over you because there's so much material, and it all just kind of sounds the same. This album is a very different approach to that, because it's much more compact. It is 15 tracks, but I mean, there's nothing much longer than 3 minutes.
Average track length here is like 2.5 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly, with some little interlude tracks that are even less than a minute in there. But what it does is it really creates this whole experience, just kind of a very British experience.
It's fluid. Yeah, it's just constantly changing all around you. You never are allowed, from a listening experience, you're never allowed to really get into a groove.
No,
really,
because right when you do, they switch it up on you. And what's interesting about that is, despite the fact that it's changing and switching all the time, the compositions at any given moment that you just press pause, whatever's going on is probably pretty complex. There are a lot of instrumentals going on, different rhythmic devices and time signatures, as I mentioned earlier. They change that stuff up all the time, but they don't stay there long enough for you to really figure it out. And I think that it makes this album kind of hard to get into, at least for a lot of listeners, I would predict. But because you're not going to get that on first listen, you're not going to get that on second listen. You have to listen a lot and really pick apart what they're doing, and then once you understand it, then you'll start to appreciate those little segments as you come back to them on further listens. So it made it a very interesting and endearing and unapologetic listen for me, which I liked. But I can understand people's complaints.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed about this over Measure, this kind of took the production up a notch. There was a lot of just, you know, there's just one track, I forget which track it is, I think maybe it's 5 Choosing Sides, that has like the bubbles all through it. And it was just like a really cool effect, especially when I listen to all these albums in headphones. So and I just noticed that the production played so much more of a role. The bass sounded bigger, and Field Music's bassist is incredible. So I really enjoyed that. It's just a much more full sound. You know, and the other thing that one of my complaints, Tom, tell me if you agree with this. I feel like sometimes Field Music takes the prog side of things and they sacrifice melody for just kind of the prog aspect of their music, and so you get these songs and these parts of songs of 2.5-minute songs. You get parts of 2.5-minute songs. What does that mean? I don't know. But it just seems like they're kind of straight out of left field. It's like they're just being weird to be weird.
Yeah.
And I don't always get down with it. Now, as Tom mentioned before, they counter that by keeping this the track length short and the album short. But it does come down to the fact that I feel like one of the things that's always been hurting field music's music is that a little bit of field music goes a long way. 35 minutes, the biggest problem with that was the extreme length. It was hard to take down. This is only 35 minutes long, but at the end of 35 minutes, it feels like 45 minutes. So even though they did a great job putting this thing together and making it really focused, that's never a good thing, in my opinion, to that when you get done with an album that you're ready to be done with it. You never want that to happen. But yet at the same time, how do you make an album shorter than 35 minutes and feel justified in it?
Yeah, it's funny because the indulgent aspect of this album, the self-indulgence, comes from a really different place than most self-indulgent music. Like when I think of self-indulgent music, the epitome to me is Tool's Lateralis. Right. I love that album, but there's just so many spots where they go on for way longer than they need to. But the self-indulgence doesn't come from length of tracks. It just comes from whatever the hell is happening in that one moment is just so dense that you can barely even get through it.
If you're really into instrumentation, and maybe even flirt with metal music at times, I don't know if a metalhead would be able to handle, taking, pop,
the falsetto vocals.
But if you do enjoy good instrumentation, this is an album you should definitely check out. And also, if you have heard field music before and enjoyed them in the past, this is I think, their strongest record to date. It's very, I'm kind of biased to Tones of Town, but this album I think is right up there with it. It's a different kind of album though. It's much more aggressive and less poppy. So it's kind of two sides of the coin. I'm interested to see what you guys thought of it. I'm sitting at a 78 right now.
I'm going 76.
So upper 70s, solid stamp from VIMTV. That means check this out. Give us your opinion at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, guys. Like us on Facebook. That's where we talk to you. And your conversation and input and requests are very important to VIMTV. And you're the blood, you're the lifeblood of this monster, this two-headed dragon that's coming at you. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.